They talk about it. 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 Welcome back to She Could Talk the Podcast. I'm your host, Gangalee. Hey, and that's Gangalee on all streaming platforms because I am a musician first. Hey. Alright, and of course, She Could Talk the Podcast. Hey, it's on all streaming platforms. If you want to find it there, anywhere anywhere podcasts are streaming, you can find the long form versions of She Could Talk the Podcast. But on YouTube, this is where we come. She Could Talk the Podcast, where we react to everything from music, news, sports, crime, YouTubers, TikTokers. If they're talking about it, we're talking about it too. Okay. Aye. But after that big introduction, guys, this is not even really a fun or jovial video, but I did want to touch on it. Now, as you guys know from last week, Gene Hackman and his wife had an untimely demise. They passed away in their home unexpectedly, and apparently they were there for some time. The confusing thing that for a lot of us was, the mystery for a lot of us was, how did they die? Like, what caused their death? Because they also had 3 dogs in their family, and one of the 3 passed away as well at the same time they did. So a lot of people was reacting to the story and giving their opinions on as far as what they think happened. I myself, talked about it with friends and family. Was like, oh, did you hear about that? I think it might have been carbon monoxide. That was me. I said, that's the only thing I could think of. And maybe the other 2 dogs just kind of escaped because they say they found them in the yard or whatever. So maybe they got out of there to get air. So that was me making my assumptions there. But a lot of people was kind of on board with that too, thinking the same way, just like looking through different comments, looking through different news articles. But then you started to get some more insight into what was going on, and then you realized that it was not carbon monoxide poisoning. It was not. So then we're like, okay. So I said I'm not going to react to it until I get a little bit more insight into that, because it was still a mysterious, untimely passing for both of them. Now they both were older, but still they were together living a peaceful life, and I was just kind of a mysterious way, right? So I said I didn't want to give my opinions, and I didn't want to jump off the deep end, do a YouTube investigation on Gene Hackman's and his wife's death until we got more clarity. That's when I was going to react. So now I'm reacting, but what I'm reacting to is the actual autopsy results, or the findings, or the new details that they came about in the death of Gene Hackman and his wife and the dog. So we're going to start with the first one, where the officials from New Mexico, in their town where they lived at, gave their medical findings. So there's a couple of things I want to point out here, and I want to tell me, guys, is my spidey senses tingling, or are you guys on board with me?
The cause of death for Miss Betsy Hackman, aged 65 years, is hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. The manner of death is natural. Autopsy examination and full body postmortem CT demonstrated no findings of trauma internally or externally.
So, do y'all notice anything? There's 2 things I just wanted to point out real quick. The first thing she said was she died, Betsy Hackman, the wife, Mrs. Hackman, died of hantavirus syndrome and natural causes. So if hantavirus is a sickness that can kill you, then that's not a natural cause of death. A natural cause of death is like you were healthy and you just went to sleep, right? Or something like that. I don't know. Keep me honest, guys.
Microscopic findings consistent with hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. Laboratory.
The second thing I wanted to point out was, look at her body language. Look at her body language. She's very antsy, nervousy, and it's almost as if she's very reluctant to give this news press conference, right? And she's not looking at the camera or anyone in particular. She keeps on looking around and down, looking around and down. And to me, I feel like that's very sus. It's almost as if she doesn't believe what she's saying. But let's get back into it.
Testing was positive for hantavirus at a clinical lab with required confirmation testing positive at Scientific Laboratories Division.
Look at her.
Testing for COVID-19, influenza, and other common respiratory viruses was negative. Testing for carbon monoxide was negative. There were no other significant natural disease findings. Pills present on scene were thyroid medication, which were being taken as prescribed and is not currently a concern for a contributory cause of death. The cause of death for Mr. Gene Hackman, aged 95 years, is hypertensive and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, with Alzheimer's disease as a significant contributory factor. Autopsy examination and a full body postmortem CT examination demonstrated no acute findings of internal or external trauma and showed severe heart disease, including multiple surgical procedures involving the heart.
So it's one thing to say, like, okay, we see a lot of scarring on the heart. We know he had heart disease, but what happened between the time that they passed and the time that they were found? What happened?
Evidence of prior heart attacks and severe changes of the kidneys due to chronic high blood pressure. Examination of the brain showed advanced Alzheimer's disease, as well as blood vessel changes in the brain secondary to chronic high blood pressure.
So,
as we approach the 11 o'clock hour on the East Coast and 8 o'clock on...
I want to pause because this is a different article. This is Fox, Live Now from Fox, right? So the first one was local news in their hometown in New Mexico, where this all went down, and that was their autopsy or their conclusion. Hantavirus killed her, and complications from heart disease killed him. What killed a dog? What killed a dog? So I wanted to, look a little bit more and see what other news outlets were saying about this, finding with the autopsies. So I came across Live Now and Fox, and I thought this was interesting. Tell me if you picked up what I picked up.
On the West Coast. New details in the investigation into the deaths of Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, found dead, along with their dog at their home in New Mexico. Officials in New Mexico now say that the 95-year-old actor died of heart disease with Alzheimer's disease as a, quote, significant factor. Hackman's pacemaker indicated he may have died on February 18th, a week before the bodies were discovered. But officials now believe his 65-year-old wife died first, with her last known activity 1 week earlier on February 11th. That's when we're told she went to a grocery store, a pharmacy, and a pet food store before returning home.
I don't know if y'all can see my eyes on that one. What? So this leads me down another rabbit hole, guys, right? So they said that they think the wife passed a week before him, right? So that means that would leave him and the 3 dogs in the house for about a week with his deceased wife, who was the last person to go to the store, who's also younger than him, like significantly younger than him. But she went to the store. Her last trip was to the grocery store, the pharmacy, and the pet store, the pet food store. Let's make sure we heard that, because I don't want to paraphrase incorrectly.
Before returning home. The autopsy revealing that she died from hantavirus, store, a pharmacy, and her last known activity 1 week earlier on February 11th. That's when we're told she went to a grocery store, a pharmacy, and a pet food store before returning home. The autopsy revealing that she died from hantavirus, and we do have a lot of questions. We've received a lot of questions about what exactly hantavirus is, so I want to bring in an expert to help explain it. We have Dr. Scott Roberts, an assistant professor at Yale School of Medicine and associate medical director of infection prevention at Yale New Haven Health. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here today.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
Of course. Well, first off, I do want to ask you kind of the overall question that we've received a lot over the past day, and that is, what exactly is hantavirus? Can you break it down for us?
Yeah, this is actually a family of viruses that are really found all over the world. The problem with hantavirus is that it can reach deep into your lung tissue and cause pretty devastating pulmonary disease in people who are at risk. Fortunately, it's very rare. There's been about 900 cases in the United States over the past 2 decades. So most people do not have anything to worry about.
And how exactly does someone contract it?
This is acquired from rodents. So mice, rats, generally it occurs when somebody inhales or some of these rodent secretions or droppings somehow get aerosolized into the air and that gets inhaled by someone. So examples are cleaning areas where rodents have been or vacuuming rodent droppings. These are a few instances of events that have led to transmission of hantavirus. So it really does require pretty close direct contact, mostly in the United States with mice or rats.
As far as symptoms, what are we talking about and how quickly do they come on? But also, how much time do you really have to seek treatment? Or do you really know? Does it depend?
That's a great question. One of the problems with this is that most people present with general flu-like symptoms initially. So fevers, muscle aches, fatigue, and only after that, maybe even weeks after the infection starts, do people get these really severe symptoms that can lead to lung disease, where people can't breathe and need oxygen, or kidney failure. But initially, it's really indistinguishable from many other viruses out there. And that's one of the challenges where somebody may not present until weeks afterwards when they've gotten infected from a rodent. And so we've seen a handful of cases when somebody has been infected elsewhere and then they've traveled to our hospital even a month later. And we have to really get clues about their exposures and ask them where they've been and if they've been exposed to any rodents like mice or rats.
And we
So, did y'all hear that?
The cause of death for Miss
This
Betsy
lady,
Hackman.
boy, she was sussed. All the findings are sus to me, guys. This is my opinion, guys. Allegedly, you know me. I just, if they talk about it, I'm talking about it, right? So this is just my opinion on this, guys. I have no dog in this race. But it seems too sus to me. First, they were found the way they were found mysteriously, and then the dog is dead too. Do an autopsy on the damn dog. What did he die of? Because there's no way 3 out of 5 living beings are in a home die just simultaneously like that. After she visited the grocery store, the pharmacy, and the pet food store. Am I reaching? So, I don't know if it was sinister. They could have been just saying, hey, we want to do it our way, if you get what I'm saying. Or it could have been sinister, right? But I don't know. I just feel like it's something else. And then like this lady's facial expressions did not help me out. Her body language did not help me get the clarity that I was looking for when I clicked on this news article. And then the same thing with the other one from Fox, or Live Now from Fox. Hantavirus, like inhaling rat feet. Yo, I'm not saying it can't happen. Anything is possible. This world is crazy. We already know that. But how do you guys feel? I want you guys to join me in the comments and tell me what y'all think. Am I bugging out? Is this sus to y'all, or is it just me reaching? Is my spidey senses on point, or am I just completely off? Y'all keep me honest in the comments, y'all. And y'all already know how I do. Until next time, I'm gonna leave y'all with the motto. I'm gonna leave y'all with your brand. Well, we're my brand. And that's gonna be, you know how we do. If you like anything I do, tell a friend. If you don't like anything I do, tell a friend. It don't matter either way, right? And from my lips to your ears, I love you. But I'm gonna need for you to go and look in the mirror and tell yourself you love you, because you can't love me until you love you. Now, once you tell yourself you love you, go out there and spread that love and be good to each other, all right? Until next time, y'all, it's your girl Gongali. It's She Could Talk the podcast. Peace.